Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Dear Nicole Dilemmas. I am using this microphone today because my other one decided to fail on me, but we are all about solutions, not problems. Thank you all so much for being here. I was inundated with the amount of dilemmas that came in for this month, so I do apologize. It'll probably take me a little bit longer to get through all of them. This month, you guys really came in hot, and I love it. It's just going to take me a little bit longer. So without further ado, Dear Nicole, I'm wondering if I should cancel the $4,200 Mexico trip my husband and I have booked for March. This will be our first trip together in 8 years. The dilemma is that he's been awful to me and I am miserable. We are creating debt for this trip and I wonder if it'll be good for us or if I should just cancel and stay at home with my dog. Right, so a trip like that could be good for you. What I would say to you is that it probably is going to be great and it will probably be good for you, but at the same time, it's probably just going to mask the issues. Now, if you can use that trip as an opportunity for you guys to rekindle, talk about your issues, and maybe find a solution to the problem, then yes, it'll be worth it. But if it's just going to be something that's going to be temporary and you're creating debt for it, maybe it would be better suited to put that money towards going to couples therapy and figuring out if this is actually what you want or if you can actually find a solution to these problems. Because if you can, then great, then maybe you could book another trip later down the line. But if you can't, then maybe you could put that money towards a solo trip. But that's just me. Dear Nicole, I often go through waves of productivity at work, and when I'm in a slump, I feel like I cannot concentrate and I end up doing nothing at work, no matter if I'm working from home or from the office. I'd love to be more disciplined, maybe more productive. I've tried to, for example, clean before my space so it's not distracting, tried to go for a run at lunch to keep my energy levels high, and adjusted my diet so that I don't get the 3 p.m. slump anymore. I've tried to write a list of interventions for the day, but I only complete half. The above is especially bad in the winter months when I naturally struggle anyway. How do I move forward? So I've actually written a whole article on seasonal affective disorder for Women's Health. If you guys don't know, I'm a columnist for Women's Health magazine. And I encourage you to read it. It's coming out in February and it explains what is going on in your brain when you are suffering with this. So it makes sense that during the winter months, you're struggling a little bit more with productivity. It's all got to do with your circadian rhythm. So the question that I would ask is, are you maybe being a bit hard on yourself? Because if you have pressing deadlines that you're not meeting, that is a different situation to you're not being productive enough. Sometimes I think that we put a lot of pressure on ourselves and I always think I just haven't done enough. And then when I start to quantify what I've actually done, I'm like, oh, actually, you've done quite a lot this year. And so that's the question that I have for you. I'd love for you to maybe give me a little bit more detail in the comment section, because without knowing more, I'm struggling to understand in which ways you're not being productive. Because are you missing deadlines? Are you missing goals? Or are you just trying to do more than you are capable of on a daily basis? I mean, it sounds like you're pretty disciplined already if you're going for a run in your lunch break, and it looks like you're doing all these amazing things. So I'm going to ask you to reframe your mindset and see whether that is actually the problem or whether you are actually unproductive. Let me know in the comment section. Dear Nicole, I'm beginning to get incredibly anxious over the thought of leaving my baby to return to work full time. If I could be a stay-at-home mum, I would, but financially it's just not feasible. He will be in good care with my family, but it breaks my heart. Any tips on how to ease a transition, lessen the sick feeling in my stomach? Oh, that's a big one. I actually have a friend that's going through the similar thing right now. She just had a baby recently and she's going back to work. And I think that this will always be a difficult transition by the sounds of it. I'm not a mother yet. I'd love to be one day. But what I would say is that, it sounds like they're going to be with your family, which is great. It's perfect that they're with somebody that you know and that you trust. So that's point number one. And I think that you can remind yourself that every single time that you're going to leave, then that's going to make you feel better. And number two, there's always going to be a transition phase, and you'll see that over time it will get easier. So day 1 is going to suck, day 2 might get a little bit easier, and then by day 95 you might actually think, oh, thank goodness they're with my family and not me because I'm having a bad day. And so just give yourself a little bit of grace, because it is a tough thing to do. It's incredibly tough. I mean, you gave birth to an entire human that was connected to your body. And now you have to sever that connection by introducing some distance. So naturally, you're going to feel a particular way. This baby is a part of you and is an extension to your body. And it's going to feel weird that this baby is not at the end of the extension of your arm. So give yourself a bit of grace. It's completely normal. I think just remind yourself that they're with your family and give yourself grace and understanding that the brain is plastic and that you've had these neurons that are connecting together and you've been in each other's space all this time. Wherever you go, he goes. Wherever he goes, you go. And now it is completely new. You will be fine. It's going to feel a little bit awful for a while, but I know that it will get better. Good luck. Hey, Nick. Thank you for your work. You're welcome. Oh, I'm so happy to be here. I have a problem that I don't want my friends to think that I'm a difficult person. I have a history of talking a lot about negative stuff to my friends, and I'm trying to change this. But even though I have decided that this time I'll just listen to other people, I still find myself in a situation that I tell about some problems I'm having or have had. Then I feel bad about this after. Why I cannot change my behavior. Habitual response. I used to complain a lot. I remember I had this flatmate who was like, I don't want to hang out with you because you literally complain all the time. And I was like, what? And as soon as he said that, I started to pay attention to how much I complained. And yeah, it was a complete habitual behavioral response where all I would do is complain. And when you start paying attention to it, you start making a change. And the fact that you're paying attention to it is an amazing thing already. Now, if your friends are your real friends, they will be compassionate towards you wanting to change and they will help support you. If these are really close friends, maybe you could even say to them, look, venting and talking about problems is a completely natural part of a friendship. This is why we have friends. I call my friends in a panic. I am one of those people that calls her best friend when I'm in the depths of despair. That is just who I am. I lean on my friends. I don't over complain, but my friends know that if I'm calling them because I have a problem, it's real and it exists. And maybe that's where you need to ask your friends to help you. Maybe you could say to them, look, I don't know where to draw the line between venting and complaining and actually talking about a problem that feels very real. So if you could let me know when I'm crossing that line, then you'll have an external objective line to draw in the sand where you feel like it's becoming too much. So be honest with your friends. Just talk to them and say to them that this is what you're trying to change, and that if at any point it feels like you're becoming too much, to just let you know. Because we need our friends around us to help us as well. You know, we don't rewire on our own. We rewire based on the people around us and the experiences that we have. And whilst, yes, autonomy, like take control of your actions, I'm a huge advocate for that, extreme ownership and all that, your friends are also there to support you. Maybe you could also delineate some of these lines yourself through what you are willing to accept and what you are not willing to accept, what you feel like is venting and complaining and what you think is actually a real problem. If you feel like it's a real problem, then absolutely speak to your friends about it. If you think it's just you spiraling into that negative cycle again, then observe it, pay attention to it. The fact that you're here asking these questions is already an incredibly good sign. Dear Nicole, hello, and thank you for your time. You guys are so sweet. Thank you for being here. It's not really a dilemma, it's more of a question. Do you know why art as a tool, either visual or auditive, impacts our system as functional beings? If so, do you recommend as an educative practice? Yes, 1,000 times. Yes, I am an ex-dancer. I love music. I've just learned guitar. I think that inherently we are all artists deep inside. I love poetry. It's just so incredibly good for the brain. So emotional expression, I've spoken about it in Rewire, this little bad boy. Oh, actually, guys, let me show you something. I have the finished version of Rewire. How cool is this? Can we just take a second? This is like my alter ego, like my badass Nick side wrote this. This is like cute Nick. This is like badass Nick that has a motorbike. I actually have a full bike license. This cute Nick that goes horse riding. This is badass Nick that rides her bike. Oh, I love it. Yes. So emotional expression is one of the most therapeutic ways to synthesize our emotions, to release the emotional friction that accompanies some feelings, predominantly grief, depression, breakups, etc. Some of the most incredible art has come from the depths of despair. So art is a way for us to put our thoughts and feelings into a narrative and express ourselves. So I remember that when I was in one of the worst times of my life, I went back to adult ballet, and it quite literally saved my life. So I've actually written an article with Stylist Magazine. So if you just search Stylist Magazine, dancing, Nicole Vignola, my name will come up, and I go into all of the details as to why dancing, for example, is so good for you. And there will be similarities in art and visual auditory expression as well. Music impacts our deep, visceral, emotional centers, whilst also allowing us to connect with people that have gone through similar things. They also put a narrative to how we're feeling. So how many times have you listened to a sad breakup song and you're like, yes, that is how I feel? And maybe you wouldn't have self-generated that narrative, but by hearing it, now you have a story to put towards it. So art in every shape or form is hugely beneficial for the human psyche. And I hugely encourage you to delve in, and yes, as an educative practice. Dear Nicole, this one's a big one. This one comes up so often. How to love yourself, how to be okay without somebody else. So, dear Nicole, how do I learn to love myself and be okay with not having someone else as a partner to love me back? I had these great ideas and expectations about love growing up. I wanted a guy to care for me, remember things about me, do the little things that I want to do the same return and love back. I want to love, but anytime I see men around me, I lose hope in all of it. Glorifying the bare minimum, toxicity, and emotionally unresponsive. How does one find someone? I'm okay with accepting imperfections, but I've only ever been let down. Oh, I actually answered a similar one a while ago, but I'm going to answer this one again. Maybe you're putting too much emphasis on this ideology of love, and you've created this narrative of love. And I think that we should absolutely say what we want and what we do want, but maybe you want love so desperately that you're starting to accept things that are not within the realms of what you actually want. So write a list of what are your non-negotiables for somebody. So you might want to, this feels very clinical, but you might want to write down what are the qualities that you're looking for in somebody. And so when you meet someone and they are not ticking those boxes, and I don't mean like looks wise or whatever, or, external things, but for me personally, like I want values, I want morals, I want the ability to see growth within them. I want to know that somebody's working on themselves. So those are the kind of things that I would look for personally, and they might be different for you. So it sounds to me like you want to love so much, which I completely understand. And I'm a huge lover of love. I love love, but I also love it so much that I'm not willing to settle. And I think that you should adopt that same mindset, because the right person will come along. Maybe you're just looking a little bit too hard and you're delving in with the wrong people because you're so desperately wanting that ideology of what you've created in your mind about love. But maybe it will require a little bit more patience and being a little bit more decisive about what you want and what you don't want. I hope that helps. Dear Nicole, I've been struggling with this for some time. How to gain confidence and show up confidently in the places when you've experienced shame or trauma before. I'm an artist in my home country. I had traumatic experiences in the art scene during my conservatory years. So I went on to live and study in Germany, where I felt in peace and was appreciated. I even won competitions, but still to this day, my home country's art scene judgment is so ingrained that I shrink whenever I should perform there. I bet in a broader sense, it is somewhat a universal struggle. Thank you. That is difficult, but the brain works through association. So you have created this association that when you are in your home country, automatically there's going to be a judgmental response. And there might be a little bit harsher. But the thing that I always see, and from the greatest artists in the world, is that they are creating for themselves. And the ones that follow will follow, and the ones that don't, they don't care about. You speak to any artist like Rick Rubin, it's all about creating the things that you want to. And it is something that I've had to personally try and cultivate, because I found myself chasing algorithms. I found myself trying to chase popular topics or what other people wanted from me. And I found that I was not true to myself. And I think when you can learn to just create for yourself, then it doesn't really matter. Now, I wrote a lot about this in Rewire, about how to change automatic responses, about how to change your narrative, about how to change those memory templates, those associations that trigger particular responses, how to change your triggers. This is all in here. It's a step-by-step process that teaches you how to rewire your brain. So if you haven't read Rewire, I definitely encourage you to. If you have read it and you still have questions, then please drop it in the comment section, because because I would love to delve into this a little bit more with you. I also think that sometimes these uncomfortable places challenge us to be even better. And what I mean by that is to cultivate a relationship with ourselves that is so self-aligned that nobody can make you feel a particular way anymore about your own art. You are the artist. We are the mere mortals that look up to you. I think artists are incredible. I really, really admire artists. So you just keep doing your art because you are doing some fantastic work for the universe. I fear that we're stepping so far away from an artistic way of living sometimes that I really, truly admire people like you. So please do not make yourself small for the world because we need people like you. Dear Nicole, I'm just starting out as a breakup coach with an emphasis on laughter and neuroscience as the main strategy. Love that. Hence why I love everything you do and pretty much devoured your whole book. My dilemma, however, is that I'm trying to create informative videos, but I'm so awkward on camera, and any great neuro or even personal tips on overcoming camera fears. How do I not be so awkward? Cheers in advance. Oh my God. Did you follow me in early 2024 when I shifted over into video content? Because, oh my gosh, it was dire, ghastly. I was so goddamn awkward. And the thing that I struggled with the most was that I had 400,000 of you watching this transition, and I lost so many followers, like so many followers, because I went on to video content. And I'm doing both. I didn't want to lose the infographic content, but I like being on camera now. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. But I knew from a neuroscientific perspective that it just takes practice, like anything, like learning tennis, like learning to knit, like learning to paint, like learning to draw, like learning to anything. It's a skill that you have to learn and acquire. And so put in the reps. A really, really good friend of mine, he said to me, he was like, make 50 videos and then decide if you're going to give up, because you can't decide to give up after 2. And so I pushed through, and I don't know how many I'm on right now, but I can tell you for a fact that even in the beginning of these YouTube videos, I was sat in front of this camera going, this is really awkward. And now I actually feel like I'm talking to you. Like, I feel like I don't know what your face looks like, but I've got a person. This camera is a person, and I'm talking to you directly, babes. So number 1 is understanding that neuroplastically, it will get better. You will become more confident. Number 2, I started to visualize, and you should too. Visualizing yourself in front of the camera, being calm, being confident. When you know your stuff, after a while, it will also get easier. Don't be afraid to take 5, 10, 15 takes, because even now, not with the long form content, but the short form content, I always record 3 to 5 of them, and then I pick the best one. And generally speaking, by the 5th one, I'm a lot more relaxed. I also want to bring myself into a relaxed state. So I will sit down and I'll just close my eyes for a few minutes before I record, so that I don't come on here and I'm all frantic and you guys can pick up on my energy, because I promise you, you absolutely can see confidence through the screen. And so those are my top tips. And then the last thing that I would say is, when you look at the camera, I want you to think that you are actually speaking to somebody. So you're not looking into a little lens or a little screen. You're talking to a human, or a bunch of humans. And I also want you to know that it is completely normal for you to feel awkward on camera. We were not designed as humans to not get visual feedback when talking to something. Normally, when you're talking to something, you are getting eye contact, you're getting facial expressions, you're getting nods, you're getting no's, you're getting hums, you're getting excitement, you're getting disappointment. On a camera, you don't get any of that. So it's completely normal. But I can tell you that over time, it will get easier. If you have been watching me since 2024, when I moved on to video content, you will know that it has got 10x better. I know it has. If you disagree with me, then we're going to have a little chat. I hope this helps. And you know what? Do it. Do it. Delve in. Just do it. The world needs people that are putting themselves out there. It is so hard to put yourself out there. I remember there were days where I was thinking, it really feels like I'm standing naked in front of everybody on a hill and asking everyone to just judge my body. That's kind of how it felt, being on camera and just being in front of people and putting out content, because you are essentially putting yourself out there in the rawest form. I mean, you're not naked. You might be. I'm not personally. But it's, yeah, good luck. Dear Nicole, first of all, thank you for everything you do. You're so welcome. Both your book and Instagram accounts have taught me so much. I'm really happy about that because sometimes I think I'm doing it in vain, and then I get messages like this and they honestly just bring me so much life. It's what keeps me going. I have a dilemma as someone who's recovering from anxiety disorder, but this could actually apply to anyone. I've relied a lot on evidence-based practices such as CBT, medication to get better, rejecting everything that seemed to lack of proof. I've always rejected everything in spiritual, both in terms of belief and therapy, as I'm someone who used to need to understand everything and values being grounded in reality. I'm doing that because you did that, not because I'm saying that. But lately I've experienced the need to try more spiritual practices and open to some beliefs. While still feeling afraid, I might be investing time and money in things that don't work and making myself a fool. What do you think? Thank you so much. From France. Hello. Okay. As a scientist, I tread that line very well between the spirituality practice and the science. And I think that, like the great Carl Sagan once said, somewhere something incredible is waiting to be known. Let me just tell you this. Back in 1847, and actually way before that, scientists were proposing the idea of bacteria and they were ridiculed. They were laughed at, and babies were being delivered right next door to morgues, and the fatality rates were extremely high. Ignaz Semmelweis in the mid-19th century started to advocate for washing our hands between touching cadavers and delivering babies to reduce this death rate. And again, this shift was not widely accepted originally because the idea of an invisible organism floating around killing things was ridiculed. It was just, can you imagine being in those times and thinking, well, you're crazy, right? And so I think that there are things that we might be able to explain. And I think that personally for me, even as a scientist, I tread the line very well between the two. I believe in the spirituality practices because they are what keep me sane. And you can couple those with some science. You know, there's so much research around breath work. There's so much research around meditation. There's so much research around finding that inner creativity by accessing the default mode network. So if you want me to explain how some of these spiritual practices work, then, you know, we can find a way to explain it. But I do think that we also need to lean into that woo-woo-ness, if you will, and accept that maybe there are just some things that we can't explain right now. Obviously, there are lines to be drawn, and you're going to have to draw that line for yourself. What I would say is lean into those spiritual practices and see if they work. If they don't work, then you just move on. If they do work, then you actually know that something is happening. And I think that if it doesn't work, you're not making yourself a fool. I think you tried. And I think that that's wonderful. I think that we should always commend ourselves for trying. And I think that we should stay curious about the world. It is what keeps us going as humans. It is what fundamentally helps our human psyche to remain, quote unquote, sane, grounded with the universe, however you want to phrase it. Curiosity is a powerful human trait that allows us to grow and learn and adapt and engage with the world in ways that you wouldn't if you didn't open yourself up to this curiosity. So stay curious, try it, give it a go, delve in, do both. You can integrate the two together. In your relationship, as neither of us were happy and it was no longer serving me at all. I was quite miserable. I've been moving on, enjoying my life, but suddenly, almost out of nowhere, 6 months later, my brain is just flooded with all of the good times and wonderful memories. I'm giggling because it's like textbook. I'm questioning whether or not I made the worst decision of my life. It's like I'm unintentionally looking back with rose-tinted glasses. Yes, you are, but it's making it really hard to remember why I even ended it. That is exactly what is happening. Your anterior cingulate cortex is what becomes more active during a breakup, and what it does is it focuses on autobiographical memories. That is why you start to go down memory lane. When the emotional load has been lifted of all the negative things, you do get those rose-tinted glasses, and all you start to reminisce about is the wonderful times. And I think that that is a wonderful thing. I wasn't ready to share this, but I'm actually going to do it. Here I go. I'm going through a breakup myself. And I remember saying to my partner, my ex-partner now, that once the dust has settled, we will remember all of the wonderful times. Right now, it's a little bit of a sticky period where we're talking about all the reasons why we don't want to be together anymore. And I remember saying this to him. I said, when the dust settles, we will remember all the good times. And we should definitely talk about those so that we don't end this relationship on a negative. Because he was a part of my life for a long time and he did some wonderful things. And he was a huge influential part of my life as well that helped me grow into the woman that I am today. But I don't sit here and reminisce on the good times wishing I had them. I sit here and reminisce on the good times knowing that I did have them and that I will continue to have them in future relationships. I don't think that you need to reminisce on them and think that you made the wrong decision. I think that you can look back on them and appreciate them and give them the respect that they deserve. These people came into our lives for a reason. These people left our lives for a reason. If you grew apart, you grew apart. Your brain might be trying to trick you, but I would reframe that mindset and look at it as though your brain is bringing to the surface all of the good stuff. And we should hold on to those things because we have a tendency to be negative. So if you can see all the wonderful parts of your relationship, then I think it's truly a beautiful thing, actually. And I think that you should really embrace that. I don't think you made the wrong decision. I think your brain is just trying to trick you. You're also trying to hold on to familiarity. You're also used to having this person. I mean, 10 years is an absolutely long time. I don't know how old you are, but if you think about it, let's say you're in your 30s and you've been together from when you were 20, or you're 14, you were together from when you were 30, that's the majority of your adult life, if not your entire adult life. You see? And so it's a big, big shift for your brain to change those neural pathways. But I'm inclined to say that you didn't make the wrong decision. And maybe that's biased because I'm thinking about my situation. But generally speaking, that part of your brain that is responsible for those autobiographical memories becomes hyperactive. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. I hope that this helps. Dear Nicole, I'm wanting to build a business next to my full-time job, but after 8 years of chronic stress, 2 burnouts, insomnia, I feel that I'm not resilient anymore and I feel burnt out every 2 weeks trying to handle both business and job. However, my corporate job is a real life sucker and a mental burden, and it burns me out from just triviality and nonsense. I don't know what to do, but I can't keep going on like this. Yes, I have been there. I was running 2 businesses whilst finishing my master's, and it was dire. So I think you need to give yourself a little bit of a break. Burnout is no joke. It takes resources away from your ability to cope and handle life. It is the reason we call it survival mode, because your brain is quite literally just trying to do the bare minimum to keep you going. So what I would say is maybe you could allocate less time to your goals. And what I mean by that is reduce the amount, because sometimes we focus so much on how much we're not getting done that actually takes mental resources away from us as well and creates this loop of shame, guilt, burnout, stress. Maybe you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to work on my stuff 1 hour every 3 days and then 2 hours on the weekend. And then you get as much as you can done in those hours. And if you can't do any more, you just take a breath and you go, that's fine. This is an ongoing process. We're going to keep going and eventually it will click. The other thing you can do is you can quit your job. I don't necessarily recommend this if you don't have the mental capacity for it. This is what I would personally do. I would personally probably quit my job and I would delve straight into my business, because then you absolutely have no other way of doing it. So you could potentially not work on your business for a while, and you could potentially save up with the current job that you've got and then quit your job, and then you've got a little bit of a reserve, and then you could delve straight into your business. Or you could do the two alongside simultaneously. I wish you all the best. I know that the most successful people have been in this place before, so I know you're going to be absolutely fine. You are resilient. You've just got a lot on. At the risk of having this YouTube video too long, I'm going to cut it off there. But every second week, I will be answering your dilemmas. So if you've asked a question and I haven't answered it, then I want you to know that it is absolutely coming out in the next few weeks. So stick with me and I will answer your questions. If you have any additional questions, drop them in the comment. Please like, comment, subscribe, share this with all your friends. I think we all need these. I thank you so much for dropping your dilemmas in here. I think it's an extremely vulnerable thing to do. Some of you guys have actually left your names, which is super sweet. I haven't actually addressed you by the name just because I want to keep this anonymous, but thank you very, very much. We are going to the stratosphere and beyond, my Rewire collective. I'll see you all next week.